Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? It is Tubo Player Negative AE, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry. We're starting on the seventh chapter, guys. We've come a long way. Come a long way. Remember the first chapter? How, we thought this was going to be maybe a linear story? And then, were we mistaken? So real quick, before we even click the start button on this, I have a couple things to explain before we get started here. So this is the first game that we're playing that's off of Steam, and what that means is, so basically, there's 6 chapters on Steam, and they all have updated, HD texture packs. I was able to get the voice patch for all of those. Chapters 7 and 8, they don't have the one. It's not on Steam, and two, there's no like voice patch or graphics patch for these. So I'm just letting you guys know the version I'm playing is the version originally released. This is the version that has all those original um, character art photos or character art CGs. So just letting you know before we even jump in that it is the original there. Let's get into it. I don't know what else to say. If you guys have any tips, Jesus Christ. So I swear I have the sound effect all the way down, but I think that starting sound effect doesn't go off of the thing because this is the second time I've done this intro, and that starting effect was just as loud. So I'm just letting you know. I don't know if the sounds are broken or what's going on. I feel like that was the correct volume. Sorry for the long-winded intro, but I just, poof. It's gonna be interesting playing with the old graphics. And the old text. Oh my goodness, dude! Look at all of this. It still kind of looks the same, but there's like a weird glow to the text almost. What are you doing? I don't see you playing by yourself that often. All you could do was nod to my question. Since when do you have your own will? Hold on. There's gotta be. Is there a text speed? I'm glad. Finally have a sister or brother. Wherever you are. I used to be an existence of nothingness, just like you. But I started having my own identity. My own thoughts. Okay, maybe that's too fast. Because I'm thinking back to the first episode where the text moved way too fast. It's not a surprise to see you having your own will. Welcome to this wide but small world. My sister. You might be my brother, but let me call you my sister until I know your gender for sure? What? This isn't. What? It's not a surprise having your own will. But oh, my sister, you might be my brother, but let me call you sister. And I don't know what that means. I don't know. I honestly don't know what that means. This is an endless world. That doesn't mean this world is mine. Well, I guess I should call the world a ring with a small diameter. There's no end to this ring. But that doesn't mean that there's a wide range of possibilities in this world. In other words, this is an endless, infinite world. The future is supposed to be formed by countless decisions. But for some reason, our lives always end with death. This is like a maze of fate. After going through the same world over and over and over again, you will eventually end up like me. If this world continues, it might even eventually be filled with a bunch of your sisters. Then a colony will be made inside this world. And once we lose our interest in this maze, Rude Rika is going to disappear from this world. Rika is still interested in that small world. But I lost interest a long time ago. I'm so glad to have you. So what are you doing? Are you collecting pieces of memories? There's only 5 or 6 of them. But but I guess it's still fun for you. I remember those 5 or 6. In fact, it seems like I was just there. There used to be more pieces in the past. Really? But they disappeared into the darkness. These are the only pieces left. Oh, that's not how you're supposed to use it. See? Try and hold it up to the light. Those are all Frude Rika's lives and her endings. That one is... I remember that one. That's the world when Keiichi was cursed. I called that one the Onakakushi chapter. Because these pieces are like stories to me. Do you remember what happened in the Onakakushi chapter? I 100% do, yeah. That's the first chapter, right? The one where everything goes crazy? Good. That makes things easier. In the Onakakushi chapter, Maebara Keiichi was taken over by the darkness. He couldn't accept any of his friends' kind words and eventually beat them to death, not knowing their kindness. We were all killed after that anyway. It had nothing to do with his story though. That piece is the Watanagashi chapter. Sonizaki Shion was cursed in that one. She killed many people out of the revenge for her boyfriend who went missing in the 57th year of the Showa era. Riko worked so hard, but she was captured at the end and she was tortured to death. That's why she chose to commit suicide in the Mikashi chapter, because things were going to turn out the same way. That other one is called the Tatari Goshi chapter. I remember this one. Sadoko's uncle came back and locked her up inside the house. This was the worst world of all. There was nothing Riko was able to do in that world. When Satoko's uncle comes back, Riko should just give up on that world. Fortunately, Satoko's uncle doesn't come back that frequently. That one is called the Sumihoroboshi chapter. That's the one we just played, right? Oh no, that's the one with Rika. Wait, no. Rika was there until just a moment ago. Yeah, that is the one we just played. Ryugu Rena was possessed in that world. It was pretty exciting to see her take over the whole school. Do you guys like it kind of stretched out like this? Because it is kind of in letterbox form. Let me know. Because right now I have it kind of stretched out so it's like a full screen thing. If we want, I can just make it fit to the screen. But just let me know in the comments. I won't make this one very long so that way we don't have to sit if anything's like wrong. Let me know if you want it just to be a box and I'll put like some background where the blackness would be. It was pretty exciting to see her take over the whole school. It surprised me that Maebara Keiichi had a memory of the other worlds, just like us. It was pretty amazing. But then most of us have some kind of memory. We all have an imaginary world, some idea of what would have happened if I did this and that. It's the strange feeling you get when you do something for the first time, but it feels like it's not your first time. Everyone has a memory of an imaginary world in their mind, but the memory is not that clear. Wow, this is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy because, like, I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but, like, you know, people that know will know. If you guys have watched all of my... None of you have watched all of my visual novel things, because all of them are, like, really long visual novel stories. But in one of the visual novels, it's like... They echo some of these same points, and it's interesting. Everyone has a memory of an imaginary world in their mind, but the memory is not that clear. Not that surprising. You are special enough to be able to see those pieces of memory. It's probably very difficult for you to understand how special you are. You were born into a world where it's a natural thing for you to see all these pieces. I was originally born in the normal world. I didn't know until recently that I could collect these pieces of memory. You grabbed those pieces just because you could, but I didn't know how to do that for a long time. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're not interested in hearing my story. Huh? What's wrong? What are you wondering about? What? You wonder why so many different incidents occur in the same world? I know, it's very interesting. Why do you think that's the case? Let's think about it together. Thinking is the first step of playing. The main character among Rika's friends is Maebara Keiichi. In the Onikakushi chapter, he was possessed by suspicion, and he killed Ryugu Rena and Sonozaki Mion. If that was an inevitable event, he would be killing them in all of the worlds. In other words, what Maebara Keiichi does in the Onikakushi chapter is not inevitable. Indeed. The only thing that's inevitable is the role of Maebara Keiichi itself. If Maebara Keiichi was someone with suspicious heart, he would take the same actions in every world. But that didn't happen. It's true that Maebara Keiichi is passionate and easily convinced. I agree. But it's rare for him to exhibit the kind of rage he showed in the Onikakushi chapter. In other words, something might seem inevitable in one world, but it may not be the case if you compare the different worlds. That means that if something is inevitable, it will happen for sure in every life. That's what a true inevitable event is like. It's very important to know that compare the different worlds, and what's common among all the worlds is the truth. Understand? Like I said, what seems inevitable in one life could just be a random event in another life. The club activities that Mion suggests are a good example. If Sonozaki Mion had a strong inclination towards playing certain games, you would be playing them in every world. But in reality, you participate in different activities in most of the worlds. That means that the games they play in the club are randomly decided by Sonozaki Mion. We know that because we've been through many different lives. Those who only live in one world can't see if the event is inevitable or random. Those who only live once can't predict what's going on in Sonozaki Mion's mind. But we can do that. Although the activities are random, Sonozaki Mion calls us together for the club meeting almost every day and every life. I can see that Sonozaki Mion has a strong will for having the club meeting. Mion always wants to play with the club members, but she doesn't know what to play. See? We can read Sonozaki Mion's mind just by simply examining these pieces. Just by this, we can see part of who Sonozaki Mion really is. Let me talk a bit more about Maebara Keiichi. For those who only live once, the world of Onikakushi chapter is nothing more than but a story where Keiichi suffered a mysterious hallucination and beat his friends to death. There's nothing beyond that fact. But we can compare different pieces and find out something they could never see. As a result, we know that the murder of his friends was not inevitable. I told you that in the beginning. In fact, there are about 5 or 6 pieces in front of you. But he only kills his friends in one of them. That means I can conclude that the possibility of him becoming the center of a tragedy is less than 20%. He is not likely to be a threat in many of the other worlds. You find anything in common from this hint? Stop telling me to reflect on what's going on. Okay, so now I gotta sit here for like a good 10 minutes. No, I'm not gonna sit here for 10 minutes. I swear, it's gonna be short. I just gotta think. So they're explaining to me to discard all the stuff. Can I find anything in common? The common things, the things that happen every chapter. What Tanagashi happens every chapter. It doesn't matter what it is or how or when, it always happens. Tomitaki dies and what's her name dies. Takano-san. They both die. Doesn't matter what chapter, they both die. There's a constant in all the main characters, so they're all there. Satoko always likes to lay traps. What's constant? Satoshi's constant in each chapter. Am I trying to gather information here? I don't know. You found it already? You're a fast learner. I've not found it. What did I find? That what Tanagashi is a constant? I didn't find that out for a while. I'm originally from the normal world, so I couldn't see it easily. I was caught up in figuring out who Mibari Keiichi is. Right. That's exactly right. You see it. The Onikakushi, the Watanagashi, the Meikashi, and the Sumi Horoboshi chapter all have something in common. Watanagashi. Oh. Yeah, okay. Someone in the group becomes violent because of dark and paranoid thoughts. Sure. In each world, Mibari Keiichi, Sonozaki Shion, or Ryugu Rena became violent after succumbing to the fear. Mibari Keiichi, Sonozaki Shion, and Ryugu Rena are all my close friends, but they were all born and raised differently. The only common factor is that they all live in Hinamizawa. But I just said it not too long ago. When I raise these pieces up to the light, I see the most important truth. There's not a lot of meaning to those suspects who are not common in all the worlds. Also, the form of their violence is not a big factor either. Mibari Keiichi beat his friends to death. Sonozaki Shion killed the central people of the three families, and Ryugu Rena took over the school. They were all different. There's nothing in common. It's important to recognize that all the suspects in the incidents differ all the time. But the fact that they are swallowed by the darkness is exactly the same. The suspect changes every time, but the process is always the same. After comparing the different worlds, this is the truth I found. This is the one truth that is common in the world of Hinamizawa. The rule to this world is that a random person becomes violent under the influence of their dark thoughts. This is Rule X. We're about to do math. Mibari Keiichi, Sonozaki Shion, and Rena Ryugu all got dragged into that rule somehow. I don't know why they are a part of that rule. Perhaps there's some kind of law and order to this? Is it because these three are all close in age? Or is it because they all live in Hinamizawa? But we're not detectives. This is not something that a small girl like us, Furude Rika, can figure out. But at least we know that there's a mysterious rule in the world of Hinamizawa. People who only live in one world have no way of knowing that. I'm proud of myself that I figured that out. But I guess for you, it's not something surprising. Huh? What did you say? That's right. It's like Dora the Explorer. If something is common among all worlds, that means it's fated to happen. Hee. Some of them easily come to mind, doesn't it? Right. Tomitaki Jiru and Takano Mio are always killed in those worlds. On top of that, they are murdered in exactly the same way in every world. It tells me that their deaths are something intentional that happens as a result of someone's strong will. This is not the same as the inconsistent violence that happens among my friends. No matter who turns violent, Tomitake and Takano get killed all the time. I know that there's another rule to these worlds, a rule that says Tomitake Jiro and Takano Mio will get killed on the night of Watanagashi. Let's call it Rule Y. Do you see there's something humorous going on? Tomitake and Takano are killed in every world, right? In every world, the character who gets cursed always thinks that Tomitake's death has something to do with the danger that's awaiting them. The fact that someone turns violent, Rule X, and Tomitake and Takano's deaths, Rule Y, are supposed to be two individual rules. But they all tend to link them together. Perhaps that's how they fall under the spell of suspicion. Are they aware that someone is actually trying to goad them into linking these two separate incidents together? Right. That person making the world in Hinamizawa a complicated place. You should see at least two suspicious people. You know who those people are? I'm gonna guess that they're gonna mention Oishi and Irie Sensei. That's right. Oishi and Takano. Dude, I think Irie is way more suspicious than Takano is. Well, Takano's suspicious because of that one chapter that she was in. You will see who Oishi Kuado is if you connect the previous pieces together. He's the detective who is retiring this year. He's in a hurry to solve the mysterious death in Yamizawa. After he retires, he has to move away from the village. That's why he's desperate to solve this case before he has to leave Hinamizawa. Why is he so obsessed with this case? That's right. It's because the first murder involving the manager of the construction site. The victim was Oishi's close friend. You will see that if you look closely at the Himatsubushi chapter. Oishi was there when the dam conflict was at its peak. He saw how the Sonozaki family took control of the Onagafuchi Guardians, and he believed that the Sonozaki family was pulling the strings behind the whole incident. That's why he always suspected the Sonozaki family as the suspect of the mysterious deaths in the village. His personal, biased belief affected the pitiful persecution, complex victims of each world. As a result, the victim in each world is led to believe that the Sonozaki family is a danger to themselves. Sonozaki Shion's case was the most conspicuous case in that matter. If Oishi hadn't interfered with the victims so much, it wouldn't have reacted so violently. He's someone who causes the tragedy indirectly. I don't know who named him this, but Oyashiro-sama's servant is the perfect nickname for Oishi. The other suspicious person is Takano Mio. It seems like all she does is talk about the scary history of Onagafuchi and intimidate other people. However, just like Oishi, she also gives people the idea that the Sonozaki family is controlling all the mysterious incidents that happen in the village. She interfered the most with Ryugu Rena. For Takano Mio, it's easy to use Ryugu Rena. But, ironically, Takano Mio always ends up getting killed at the end. If she had survived and seen Rena take over the school, she would have laughed so much. Have you realized that these two suspicious people are also following the common rules? They talk about the Sonozaki family, and the listeners always believe them. This is Rule Z. What a humorous rule it is. You should already have an answer to this mystery. The fact is that the Sonozaki family always acts as if they are responsible no matter what happens. They were always pretending to be the bad guys and made sure that the people continued to fear them. As a result, the villagers always believed that the Sonozaki family had been pulling the strings ever since the dam conflict ended. Uishi Kurado... See, but... Okay, sure. Uishi Kurado and Takano Mio were simply fooled by that rule. Actually, the whole village is fooled by it. But the more I think about it, the stranger the series of mysterious deaths in Yamizawa strikes me. You know why? I don't know about the previous incidents, because all I have is the memory from the 58th year of the Showa era. But the fact that they are trying to tie up all the incidents together may be the big mistake. They might be relating distinct individual murders as one big case. Is that really what it is, though? Is that really the explanation to that? I can't tell that by the pieces I have. Is the explanation really that they're just individual murders and that this whole time Oishi was completely wrong about them being linked together? Even though it just seems, but I should have a hint somewhere. Each case is supposed to be solved already. I don't know if that's true, but it might be the truth. Shion was saying something interesting in the Meikashi chapter. It's the curse system that she came up with. Do you remember that? Her theory was that the villagers believe that they are allowed to kill the enemy of the village on the night of the Watanagashi in the name of Oyashiro-sama's curse. She believes that the curse happens because murder is allowed on that night. I can't examine this theory solely based on the memory of the 58th year of the Showa era, but this is interesting. Her theory is telling us that the suspect is not the only one who's committing the crime. It's the environment that's causing the murder. The people tend to analyze the whole life of a criminal, but that's not the point. The real crime is committed not by the criminals, but by the environment. In other words, criminal A might have committed the crime, but a poor environment might have created criminal B as well as criminal C. Criminal A might not have been a bad guy in another world. Therefore, the real criminal is not A, but the environment that creates A, B, and C. People who live in a single world can come up with this theory. It's more likely, though, that people would just lynch criminal A and overlook his environment. No, not really. I understand. My explanation is too confusing. The argument there, and argument or explanation there is that everybody starts out good, but it's the environment that makes you bad, and that you shouldn't blame the criminal. It's the environment that does everything, which is a theory to look at. It's an optimistic theory to look at. In fact, I'd say I believe in that theory too, because then the opposite theory is like there's just people that are born bad and that want to do stuff, and I don't believe that. I feel like people for the most part want to help. It's just if you're raised in a way that, life sucks, shit happens, It's easy for me to see that in a normal world. So I get that. Make it simple for you. The real suspect of these worlds is not an individual like Keiichi Maebara or Sunozaki Shion. It's the environment. The rules of the world are the real suspect. You're in a pretty good shape if you realize that. All you need to do is identify the 3 rules within this village. Rules X, Y, and Z. That'll put you in a better position. Once you understand this, you'll be able to find the truth much easier. See? Isn't it fun? These worlds seem so different, yet there are only 3 rules that govern them all. This is very interesting. If this was a different place, you wouldn't see much difference in each world. It keeps me excited just to stay here and watch these worlds. Anyway, there's one more piece of truth that I can see. That's the biggest issue Rika Furude is facing. The truth is that Rika Furude is always killed at the end. It's as if June of the 58th year of the Showa era is a dead end for her. It's not just a random thing. It happens all the time. It means that it's the same pattern as the deaths of Tomotaki and Takano. It's crazy how many beats this is hitting as other visual novel or as other visual novels that I've played. Like it's hitting some of the same beats, and I kind of like it. I kind of think it's pretty amazing. That means it's the same pattern as it's following the same rule. Rule Y. Tomitaki and Takano Mio are always murdered on the night of Watanagashi. Furude Rika's date of death is not always the same, but she's always dead by the middle of June. Tomitaki and Takano are probably attacked on their way home, so that's why it always happens on the same night. But the case of Furude Rika is different. She takes different actions in every world, and her lifestyle is very unpredictable. For that reason, the day of her death is not always the same. However, she always dies in June, because someone has a strong intention to kill her in June. Can it be that the death of Rika Furude or Furude Rika is somehow related to the deaths of Tomitaki and Takano? Is it the same person killing all three of them? I don't know if it's all done by the same person, but I'm sure they're all connected. Is it really the same person? Or the same organization? Do they have the same views? Or the same goals? Rika's biggest goal is to get away from her deadly fate. But it doesn't mean that she just wants to leave the village and survive. She wants to live happily in the village. All of her friends must also be happy with her. That's the happy future that she hopes for. It's ironic that she can't even obtain that simple happiness after repeating years and years for the same life. We know this tragedy because we've been repeating the worlds with her. By the way, I have some interesting information. I'm ready. Most of the time, we don't know who kills Rika. But in some worlds, her death was caused by her possessed friends. Right. It happened in the Watanagashi and the Meikashi chapters. Furude committed suicide, but she was pretty much killed by Sonozaki Shion in those worlds. What that means, it messed up the plan of the people who were going to kill her later, disturbing Rule Y. Whoever kills Rika has a strong will to kill her. But she was killed before that as a result of Rule X. The real suspects must have panicked after that. That's unless their only purpose was just to take Rika's life, in which Rule Y was upheld. But if they had their own other purposes, that would have messed up their plans. Perhaps there might be something in common in the Watanagashi and the Meikashi chapters that didn't happen in the other world. Hold on. Watanagashi was what chapter? That was the second one, right? And what happened in the second one? Okay. The second one. Okay. Well, no. Yeah. Okay. So those were the two chapters that related to each other. The Meikashi and the Watanagashi related to each other, right? The only thing that comes to mind, and the reason why I bring him up, is because he comes to mind so often. It's almost like it's crazy interesting. EDA is not mentioned once here so far, and that leads me to believe that they're trying to throw like the trail off of him a little bit, and it's like, oh well, we've talked about all these people, but what about EDA? And then it's like, oh okay, that's definitely what it is. So it would make sense if it was him that had a strong will to kill Rika, but why? Unless he's some like entity. Also, there's a lot here just but the nature of us having this conversation with whoever this person is, I'm guessing that we're all Rika Furude and we're just different versions of Rika. I have no idea what we are, or who they are, or what's going on. But just having this conversation is a weird thing, because so Rika's a god. Rika's like a sentient being. Rika's Oyashiro-sama. Who is Rika actually? Is she actually a demon? Unfortunately, we're Furude Rika, so we don't know what happens after Rika is dead. Or, by any chance, do you know what happened? I only know the world where Rika, or Furude Rika, is still alive. But you're a special existence who is born in a superior world. Is there anything that didn't happen in the Watanagashi and Meikashi chapters that happened in all the worlds after Rika's death? Do you know anything? That must be another truth behind Rule Y. The memories I have here are all mainly about chaos brought by Rika's friends, that is Rule X. But if the dark rules are common among all the worlds, they might be the factors that control the tragedy of Hinamizawa. And if that's the case, it will be tough for Rika. She needs to fight Rule Y in order to survive. Otherwise, she will never get out of June of the 58th year of Showa era. She also needs a way to save her friends from Rule X. Otherwise, one of her precious friends will have a tragic end. That will defeat the whole purpose of Rika surviving beyond June, the 58th year of the Showa era. She also needs to shatter Rule Z by revealing that the Sonozaki family is actually not a threat, just like how Shion Sonozaki tried in Meikashi. As long as Rule Z remains in effect, the same tragedy might happen in the 59th year of the Showa era. Perhaps that's why her friends start losing their minds under Rule X. Hinamizawa believes that the Sonozaki family is plotting and scheming, and that the tragedy is caused by the curse of Oyashiro-sama. That fact might be the main culprit behind the tragedy. People are not surprised to see someone die on the night of Watanagashi. That type of thinking is keeping the curse alive in Hinamizawa, and it causes more tragedy. It's Rule Z reinforcing itself. There's also like rule like 3 million. There's a bunch of rules. If we wanted to go past like all the things that go on, like there's another rule that's like, unless we're just chalking that up to just random murders happening on the same day of every year. Because that's another thing, is that, like, not only do Tomitaki and Jiro die, I guess you could put that under Rule Y, if I'm being honest, because they all die. It's a permanent death. And those deaths always happen anyway. They're all tough obstacles. We didn't even find these common rules until recently. Were you aware of them? If you were, I'll give you straight A's. I've tried so hard in the past to break these rules, but I was never successful. However, a miracle happened in the Sumihoroboshi chapter. Barikechi remembered a piece of memory from another world, and he stopped the tragedy from happening to his friend. However, Rika was still killed anyway that night. But one of the rules was broken in that world. That was a huge step forward. Rika knew that there were 3 common rules among the worlds, but she could never break any of them. Eventually, she started giving up and lost interest in the worlds. That's how I was born. But she's different now. She's learned something valuable from Mebara Keiichi. The rules can be broken with a strong will to fight. She can break all 3 rules. Furude Rika will be able to free from her eternal prison. But she doesn't have much time left. Rika has traveled through many worlds. Her physical lifespan is not a problem, but her mental lifespan is getting shorter. Mentally, she is extremely old, and her soul is starting to turn into something different. In the end, she may not be able to feel these individual worlds anymore. It's getting very close to that point. Eventually, she will start to hallucinate and completely lose her spirit as Rika Furude. And then she will disappear. That means that you and I are going to be left in this dark world. The pieces of our memories will gradually disappear, and we will be left alone in the eternal darkness. Eventually, we will die. Furude Rika is aware of that. She knows that her mental lifespan is getting shorter and shorter. Hanyu is also losing her powers. Who the fuck is Hanyu? She can't rewind the years of time like she used to. Her power is decreasing, and she can barely rewind 1 month of time. Actually, she can only rewind a few weeks. She should only have about 2 weeks in the next world. Rika Furude is going to try to break these 3 rules in just 2 weeks. Okay. I wanted to know what's outside the wall, so I tried to climb my way out. I wanted to know what's outside the well, so I continued to climb until I injured myself. I finally realized the higher I climb, the more pain I feel when I fall. When my curiosity toward the world and my physical pain become equal, I finally understand the meaning of the frog in the well. Chapter 7, Minagoroshi. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end it right there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Couple questions. Do you guys like it stretched out like that? Or would you like it scrunched into the box that it's in? And then I can kind of put a background. Second thing is, how's the sound? It's either way too quiet or way too loud. I'm going to listen to it myself, so I'll probably figure it out. But let me know yourself what you think, just so I have... I have a lot of questions. I mean, I don't want to exit now. Let me go ahead and save this here while I have you guys here. So the thing I'm worried about, right? Yes, save. Thank you. The thing I'm worried about, and the thing that I'm, well, not worried about, but like confused, I guess, about is one, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Can someone explain to me what that just was? So I'm guessing, and if I had to break it down from what I've seen so far, of what's happening is Rika is this like godly being. She's like something else. I don't know if she's a demon or if she's like I don't know if a demon's necessarily the right word, but it's like a world traveler or something. And or maybe it's like Groundhog Day for her, but she's able to keep repeating the stuff due to this person named Hanyu, who is a person that I don't know if we know of yet. It's just a person that has been not mentioned, or at least I don't believe they've been mentioned. Hanyu, I think maybe it's a like a mythological person or something. I don't know, because it sounds like it could be, but the idea that Rika is kind of groundhogging the day over and over again into different world lines is so reminiscent of another visual novel that I played, and it's just interesting to go from something like that visual novel to this pretty much immediately. It was like we kind of picked this one pretty soon after. I don't know how well I yeah, pretty soon after we played that, we played this one, and it's just interesting to have the two games kind of parallel each other like that. Part of me still doesn't get why Keiichi was able to remember the previous world. I don't know if it's a thing that and who was that person talking to? Like, who was I? And why were we all Rika Furude? Is it like multiple people that are Rika, and like she just chooses which one to send on over, or like what? And then that person also said that the reason why they were created is because Rika got bored with the world for some reason. So there's that. There's a lot of stuff in this that not that it doesn't make sense, but it's stuff that's confusing me because You've seen it. It makes sense that we're kind of like an omniscient god viewing multiple memories or timelines, and there used to be more of them, but they're all kind of mixed up now, and we're just trying to find the one where nothing goes wrong, which is so reminiscent of another thing that we used to play or that we've played before. So I think it's just super crazy and interesting to me that they, I don't know, it's just super crazy and interesting to me. Um, I'm curious to see if this is a thing that we're going to be able to escape. I imagine we will. I imagine eventually, like towards the end, Rika will finally escape with all of her friends and nothing will go wrong and it'll be kind of like a happy ending. And it is interesting because remember a long time ago, I don't know how long ago it was actually, and this is just me kind of rambling now, so I do apologize that the video is going a little bit longer. But remember how I was like, each one of these is like a visual novel story, and each one of them, instead of me choosing the paths, it kept going down the wrong path, and eventually at the end we would go down the right path because it was just giving me all the things. So that way it kind of prevented each chapter is kind of like a decision that you would make and it's like the wrong decision, and you keep making all these decisions, and then when you get to the last chapter, you finally make the right one. And that's kind of where I was going, and what I had thought at that point. And it's almost true that I was almost kind of like, I think that was my most logical theory, right? Is that it was just a visual novel, and each visual novel thing was like a choice. What I didn't expect was that the characters were going to start like remembering like the different timelines that had happened, and that kind of flipped out a little bit. They explained a lot about rules. I'm gonna have to do some thinking about what was the same in Meikashi and Watanagashi that wasn't in the other chapters, because they said that was the key to understanding everything. So I'll probably do some of that before we play the next episode. Like I said before, let me know what you guys think of the sound and everything, and the orientation, and whatever else you feel like you have to tell me. Let me know. And I will try to fix it before we play another one of these. Again, I appreciate you guys' patience. I appreciate you guys listening to me. I know I ramble a lot, but you guys seem pretty cool about it, so I appreciate that as well. I will see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be, and peace out, you guys.